Oh my goodness. Welcome back. What an electric week this has been for the podcast, guys. But everybody, welcome back to the Sevn on Sevn podcast, episode number 27 today with Mr. Carter Juncal. There we go. I had to ask him how his last name was pronounced outside before we started rolling because I have been wondering. We have never met, so I got to make sure I get that right. But, dude, I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
He drove all the way down from L.A. to be here, so I'm absolutely stoked.
It's a true pleasure to be on the podcast.
First podcast for you, isn't it?
It is, in fact, my first podcast, my world debut.
World debut. I am honored that this is the first podcast that you have chosen to be on, man.
Yeah, feel free to correct me if my, etiquette isn't right.
Oh.
If you need better mic levels or whatever.
I will tell you, but you're doing fantastic, my man.
Okay, pull the plug, cut it.
Yeah, I'll be like, hey, guys, all right, sorry, he's off. So tell us a little bit about yourself for those who are watching and those who are listening, a little bit about where you grew up and your background and a little bit of what you do now before we kind of really dive into it, but just kind of give like a little synopsis to everybody who may be new to you.
Yeah, so I was born on a rainy Tuesday. No.
Yeah.
I grew up in Southern California.
Sweet.
I spent a good chunk of my childhood in San Clement, California, and now I'm working and living in Los Angeles, doing mostly like creative resources for musicians. That's really vague, but so is my job. Like I do a lot of different things. I wear a lot of different hats. But it's a pretty humble operation right now.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping to grow it into something really special.
Hell yeah. Well, I mean, it seems like you're fucking killing it, dude. I mean, just by what I see on social media. And, we have some mutuals that, that's how we got connected. But pretty humble description, if I'm going to be honest, about your job title. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a more in-depth since he's being Mr. Humble Guy over here. Some of your people that you've worked with is Travis Scott.
Yeah, I was part of a very talented team, not just me, but I helped edit some of the time code, like for the visuals on his recent Utopia tour.
Jesus, that is crazy, dude.
Yeah, it's great. I kind of fell ass backwards into it, and I met some really talented people, and hopefully they like working with me because I really, really like working with them.
Yeah. So can you list some of the people that you've worked with or that you're allowed to name?
Yeah. Really, a lot of my connections come from my time at Mad Decent, which is like Diplo's little imprint.
Yep.
And so I spent some time there. I actually started interning there, which is a funny story that we can catch up on later. And then kind of through that artist umbrella, I was able to launch more into doing like freelance services.
Gotcha.
Most recently, I just finished up a new tour package for Party Favor.
And Baauer, right?
Yeah, I actually did some visuals for Baauer as well. They have like a duo project called Dylan and Harry. And we made some really, really funny stuff for their show debut. They did like a 3 or 4 run show. Yeah.
Damn. So Party Favor, Baauer, you've done stuff with Travis. You've done stuff for Diplo himself, correct?
Yeah.
Because if you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I was told that you did a lot of the album visuals for Diplo's last album.
Yeah.
And like the song that had was "Don't Forget My Love," that album with Miguel and stuff. Yeah. So what work did you do on that album?
So
as far as visually.
Yeah, totally. The art department within Mad Decent is a very small operation.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of like sharing hats. It's kind of a musical chairs there. But between myself and then Jackson Green, who's like probably one of the most talented graphic designers that I've ever met, and then this guy, Michael Flanagan, the 3 of us worked under the umbrella of our project manager, Lola.
Okay.
Shout out everyone at Mad Decent. And my specialist role was to make video content.
Okay.
So it was kind of a big deal because Diplo is obviously like
Diplo.
a high priority.
Yeah, Diplo's obviously, he's Diplo.
Yeah. And he was releasing his first LP like since his debut project, Florida.
Wow, okay.
So it's crazy to think someone as big as Diplo has only ever done like EPs or singles in like, the past 15 years of his discography.
Yeah.
So it was a big deal to do the LP. And they got all of us together and we decided to do release videos for each song. So I did a series of videos where we like went out and shot in I kind of like Joshua Tree area for a couple days with his close friends and created this kind of like pseudo documentary feeling.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, did a bunch of videos for that album as well as just like some extra assets, the stuff that goes on Apple Music, and a couple tour loops, and all the little accessories that come with it. But,
yeah, dude, that's insane. So I'm curious because I've said this on so many previous episodes because I've had a lot of photographers or other fellow videographers or digital creators, and I'm curious like what the background is. Did you go to school, or was there a childhood influence? Was there a parent that was in the industry, a friend that was in the industry? Like, how did you get started on this route even to begin with? Because I feel like there always has to be, with people who do what you do or similar, there has to be some sort of younger influence almost that inspires you to try and move in this direction. So is there?
No, yeah, that's a great question. Music has been a through line for me for a very, very long time. I first started like playing guitar and was like really determined that like I was going to be the front man of some project. I got really into music production for a while, and like I was like, oh, I'm going to be the one on stage, whatever. And during my time in college, I ended up playing like a few like pretty decent sized shows.
Damn.
But I found out quickly that I'm much better at making like accessories to music. Like I was really good at music marketing and stuff, more so than making the actual music. And so I actually went to school for business. I got myself a finance degree and hated it. Yeah. Oh my God. And so like my last semester, I did like a work study program in London. I was in like a suit every day. And when I got back, I'm like, fuck this. Like I'm never going to wear a suit ever again unless it's like a wedding or a funeral. And I just immediately started applying at record labels after I graduated because I was like, oh, like I want to work in music. Like I have no idea what to do. I was like, I'll intern for free. Like I'll wash your car. Like, like I don't care.
Just get me in the door. Like
exactly.
Totally.
Yeah. So I just like spammed as many record labels as I could. And Mad Decent was the only one dumb enough to like take me up on my offer. I'm pretty sure they didn't even look at my resume because at the time I was living in Seattle and they were like, oh, can you start on Friday? I'm like, yes, of course. And I like broke my lease and just like threw everything I owned in a car and drove down to LA. And,
wow.
Fast forward a little bit and we're here.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow. And see, like, I always think it's so funny because it's always a trend with people who are in the creative, whether it's video or photo, that are successful, that do have pretty decent accolades in what they do, is the absolute just unshakable drive and ambition and just like whatever I got to do to make this happen. If there's an opportunity, if that door is opened, like I'm in. I don't care I'll wash your car. Just get me in the door. And I just think it's so funny because it's such a common trait that's been on this podcast with people who are in similar industries as yourself. Definitely. Say the same thing. It's just I love that. I love that because it's such an important skill and it's such an important factor. Kind of, how we were talking, before we started rolling about just working for yourself in that aspect is a lot of the nuances and the just kind of monotony of things that you have to do or just eat the shit for a long time until you can start to reap some benefits of that. And that sacrifice, a lot of people aren't willing to do that. And that's just the reality of it,
I think that sometimes it can be a little bit good to help kind of like weed out the false idols. Like I think if I didn't have like such a hyperfixation on like my love for music, that maybe I wouldn't have eaten so much shit in your words. But no, man, it's been a really great journey, and I think that like there is a lot of luck involved with my success as well. But there's definitely been a lot of hours, a lot of late nights. But at the end of the day, I'm like really thankful to be a part of this industry.
Of course.
And like I'm really thankful for a lot of the projects that I've worked on.
Dude, to be honest, when I was told the people that you worked with, I was like, wow, that's incredible. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 27.
Oh.
About to be 28 right at New
You're
Year's.
young.
Yeah.
You're young, dude. So I know I usually ask this like later on in the podcast, but I'm just so curious because I have a lot of friends and I know a lot of people personally that are either photographers, videographers, creative directors, producers, anything in that kind of realm. And what would you say is like the biggest maybe deciding factor or the biggest kind of it factor of how you've gotten in the door or how you've been able to do these things. You know what I mean? Because I feel people get lost almost as maybe they get some work or I guess maybe how I'm going to word this question better is the elevation of yourself and the work that you've done in the past, the first work that you started to, and then as you grow and you're starting to work with, Mad Decent, Baauer, Party Favorite, these big guys, like, do you kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that, like, I don't have much sage wisdom to offer you.
No, I know, but
I do think that,
it's not wisdom, but it's real life experience. You know what I mean? You've been in the positions that maybe a lot of these people that are listening or watching are in, and you've escaped that kind of. You know what I mean? You may not be where you want to be or what you want to be doing, but you have very notable achievements. And what was like the biggest thing for you to bridge that gap?
That's a really great question.
And I guess, too, also was how long were you doing maybe shitty bullshit, productions or visuals or this and that until the work that you've done now? Was that like a 2-year window, a 5-year window, a 12-year window, a 6-month window? You know what I mean?
I'm not sure that I can tell you exactly how long the window is, particularly because I think I might still be in it. Like, I look at every project, and I try and make every project better than the last. And
Always.
like, back to your original question of like what was like a defining factor to like help you get work or like to quote unquote climb the ladder.
Absolutely.
And like for me, I think probably the biggest tenet is to constantly undersell and overdeliver. Like if I could give a younger me any advice, it would be undersell, overdeliver. Tell the client like, hey, yes, I can do this, but try and find ways along the way to add value. Be like, hey, I'm going to give you a couple extra loops. I'm going to pitch one more idea. You have to put in the extra hours for it. But I think that's how you get like the word of mouth, like recommendations, and like how you can get people to like, say like, oh, hire this Carter guy. He did this for me that I didn't even expect. Like,
God. 2 points. God, I swear to God, I tell you guys this all the time. Everybody that's on the podcast has never met each other but says the same goddamn thing. Because and I just love that because it just seems to be the truth of what it is. You know what I mean? God damn it. It's
That's
just
great,
so
man.
Dude, it's so funny. Every single creator or photographer that I've had on the show has said that. That exact same thing. And
you have great taste in guests.
oh, thank you. And you said something that I believe in so heavily, and I tell this to my best friends or people who are trying to start their own businesses or their own creative adventures as a solo entrepreneur type thing is the undersell, over deliver. That aspect is so crucial, especially if it's a new job or new work or a new client, to absolutely over deliver on everything that you're doing. Because I say this all the time as well, is that factor of you over delivering and how you execute that project with someone. Maybe it's if you've worked with new or if you've worked with in the past, their words about you afterwards when that project is done, that then almost becomes your portfolio within itself. And I call it like, it's kind of like a digital handshake almost type thing where you do so well or you over deliver or execute on a job. And why it's so crucial is because then those people will always remember that kid who they hired for this project that absolutely killed it and will forever. Maybe it might not be next week, maybe it might not be 6 months, but they will return to you at some point, or your name will get brought up in a conversation in a room where there is other people looking for someone who does exactly what you do. And if people have nothing but great things to say about your work and how you work, it's crucial. Like the biggest example is like when I just did the Red Bull project. That was a huge undertaking for me because I'm a producer. I'm not really a composer. You know what I mean? I don't play a violin. I don't play piano classically, but I was like, yeah, I can do it. And I've never done it before, but I was like, you know what? I can do it. I got the job, it's done.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do.
I'm very familiar with telling my clients, yeah, I can do this, and then learning how to do it along the way.
Dude,
yeah, I mean,
and
hopefully none of them are listening.
Yeah, right. But I think that's just how it has to go sometimes. Is
Definitely. You got to take the risk.
The fake it till you make it aspect holds almost a little bit of value, maybe more than a little bit of value in that aspect, where you just have to have the self-confidence in yourself and your ability to where you're portraying to someone as, I can do this, I can kill it, because your confidence is going to be like, okay, he's the guy. Even though behind the scenes you might be like, holy shit.
Man, I got a lot of YouTube tutorials.
Yeah, I got a lot of YouTube University to look at right now. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah, and just kind of to briefly touch on that, the Red Bull project is, after I got that, they just gave me 3 colors and a graph, no visuals, no nothing. And before even I had my first phone call with anybody on the team, I had sent them 3 scores, different vibes, different lengths, different BPMs, different tones, different textures, because they hadn't given me anything.
Completely.
So I was like, okay, well, let me put in a little bit extra work, supply them with some sort of blueprint idea.
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
Dude,
is like
it's
giving
crucial.
Your client, if they don't necessarily, like we call it the freedom of a tight brief.
Yes.
Right? If they don't exactly have a vision, sometimes the best way to get the ball rolling is to give them something that, like, yeah, maybe they hate it, but at least then you have an idea of where to steer the project.
At least I know now you hate it.
Yeah.
And know, okay, that maybe that was the direction I was going to go. I'm glad I sent that. Now we know not to do that.
Yeah, but like a lot of the work in creative services is also like getting what the client wants out of them. Sometimes they can come to you with a project, but they may not communicate it in the most succinct way, or like you might not communicate your idea. And so like having these touch points and like visual references are really huge. Sometimes you make them, sometimes you don't.
Totally.
Like this project I'm working on right now, like I was up all night like making a lighting mock-up of like how the lights are going to work on the shoot, but like I had to go through and individually keyframe all these lights on and off just so they could see like, oh, hey, like this is where the hit is, and then the pyro comes in here and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work to put in the extra work when it comes to those type of things. You know what I mean? But
yeah, some would call me a masochist, but I think I like it sometimes.
Yeah, but those details about it is what is going to make the difference when that end result comes out. You know what I mean?
Oh boy, yeah. If the devil's in the details, I'm satanic.
Yeah, I like that. If the devil's in the, I like that. I'm going to steal that from you.
Yeah, I didn't come up with it. I stole it from somewhere. Yeah.
So, I'm curious too, because I have a question. Because I've seen your portfolio on Instagram. What is it that I know you do visual assets for artists and for this, but you're mentioning lighting and keyframing and doing this. That's got to be for like production or stage design, or is that, you know what I mean? So like, what is it exactly that you do as far as for the artist asset type things? Are you more of music video, visuals, stage design, production design? Are you doing, tour stuff? Like, what is it exactly that you're in? And if it's all of them, that's great, because I love that.
Yeah, it is definitely still all of them. I think my time at Mad Decent, I got a reputation kind of as like the Swiss Army knife, or like everyone's favorite plan B. It was like, oh, hey, like we can't get this guy in time, or they're too expensive. They're like, oh, just Carter at the label will handle it. And like through that, I was able to learn like a lot of different skills kind of by saying like, yeah, I can do that, and then learning it later.
Trial by fire.
Exactly, yeah. And so now I have like a variety of different clients that know me for different roles. Mm-hmm. And what I'm hoping to do is to grow my brand and my team to the point where I can start delegating out to like, hey, like I'm going to work with this LD because they are far better at it than I am, or I'm going to work with this gaffer because they can light a scene way better than I can. But right now it just kind of depends on the client and the project, like which roles I take on, whether that's director or DP or photographer or whatever it is.
Damn. So you hold a lot of titles. You hold a lot of titles.
I guess if I'm CEO of my company, I'm also the intern. So it's a very short vertical integration.
If I'm the CEO, I'm also the intern. Yeah. I like that. You're witty. I like that. That's funny as fuck.
Thank you, man.
That's super true. Man. Dude, yeah, I think it's just very impressive what you've done. You know what I mean?
Thank you very much.
I really do. I think it's very impressive what you've done and what you've created and just the world that you're in and the quality of the work that you put out. And I always have to give flowers because especially when people are, similar age. I'm going to be 25, so, we're similar-esque in age. And there's a lot of people that are in that same age demographic and have a very similar dream and a very similar, hopes for the outcome of what it is that they want to do. And I love having people on like yourself that really have done it and have been through that type of shit, because I think it just holds so much value, and it really does show that it is possible. You know what I mean? There is light at the end of the tunnel if you are willing to put in the work and to eat the shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. It's a long journey, especially when you're taking one step at a time. And I definitely don't think I'm quite towards the light just yet. But I think if you can find a way to enjoy it along the way, and like for me in particular, like as long as I'm close to the music and like I believe in the music and like I believe in the client and I can find a way to connect with it, like personally, that's really, really huge for me.
Absolutely.
And that is like kind of where I get my like motivating drive to continue working and to continue like being a part of these projects, even if they, keep me up at night.
Yeah, no, totally. What would you say is like one of your biggest, it's one of your biggest fuck ups?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I think,
like, what's one of your biggest mistakes that you've made? Maybe it could be with a big client or something that you really took something away from. Because we all have those. I have plenty of them.
I really pride myself on like trying to be as defensive as possible when delivering to a client, being like, hey, like I can at least give you this, or like, hey, I'll cut the rate because I feel like this isn't in the place that I want.
Okay.
But there's a couple projects I look back on that maybe went too many rounds of editing in notes and like maybe lost the original thesis of like what we were going for. Ooh. Or there was a disconnect between like my own vision and theirs. And I think that I'm still in the process of learning this, but I've gotten much better at kind of dissolving my own ego for the sake of like fulfilling what the artist wants, which is it's really tough to swallow for sure. But I think that there is a fine balance between like learning how to communicate and like how to like advocate for yourself.
Dude.
Because if a project goes, into version 5, 6, 7, 8, 20, at a certain point you need to pull the plug or like you go back to the drawing board. And those are always really tough conversations to have.
Absolutely. And that's so fun. This is like first and second episode ever of the podcast, like coming back right now.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Because I had one of my really good buddies on, Chazzy, who's a big car photographer, like probably one of the biggest car photographers in SoCal. And we had this same conversation, and I love that you said it, and I'm going to harp on this point again. And I understand it is a very, very hard delineation and a very hard aspect of just kind of your business, and the reality of it is knowing your value. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. As an artist or as the creator, knowing your value in the sense of, if this is what you charge, this is what I charge, and this is what it is, this is what it is. But also standing up for yourself when you do get it and stuff may not be what they want or how they envisioned it or vice versa, and being able to navigate that and come to a sensible resolution that is going to make both parties at least happy with what the product is going to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, completely.
And I really had my first taste of that again on the Red Bull thing, was the whole standing up for yourself, was because it can get lost in the rabbit hole of it's version 1, 2, then it's version 25.
An email thread with some junior marketer that's like, I think we should change this whole
Exactly. And then
too many cooks.
Totally. Too many cooks in the kitchen. And then being able to have that ability, and I really do think it's a skill. I think it's a personal, maybe it's a business skill or a personal characteristic trait of knowing when enough is enough, and like, I either can't touch this anymore, or this is what it's going to be, because if you guys keep saying all this shit, this is never going to get done.
Completely.
And my aunt and uncle told me something a while ago. They're big, they own a business called the M Factor, which is in LA, and they do like all the movie trailers and billboard designs for like Marvel, Disney, like they kill it.
Yeah.
And they have their deadlines, and their just whole process is fucking unbelievable.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's craziness. But they told me something a while ago that really resonated with me, that I'm sure you believe in, and I really want everyone who's listening and watching to really understand this is they said real artists deliver. You can be an artist or a creator and have a great idea or make a great product or go in it version 1 through however many, but at the end of the day, if there's a deadline or there is a delivery date, you have to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
And however, and whatever the path is to that delivery, whether it's you stepping in being like, hey guys, this is it. Like, this needs to be it. I'm done. I can't touch this, or whatever that is, real artists deliver. Because if you don't deliver, what good does it do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It also comes back to that reputation note that you mentioned earlier.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, I think all you have in any of our industries, as a gig worker, I mean, like, this goes outside of, like, just creative and music, is that, like, all you have is your reputation. And, like, at the end of the day, like, if you deliver late, like, that impacts your reputation, the way people see you. Yeah, it's a delicate dance
Totally.
that you have to do, and every single client is different, but that keeps it exciting.
It's a crazy, it's just a crazy world. I have a question. It's totally left field.
No, hit me.
You have any other, like, weird passions or stuff that you like to do, like, on your free time? Or you got any other sort of, like, weird shit that you're into?
Yeah, you mean besides, like, smoke cigarettes? I'm actually really into bicycles.
Bicycles?
Yeah, I'm a big fixed gear bike guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Like the road bikes?
Yeah, like the road bikes.
Okay.
Like the kind that they have in, like, the velodrome.
Yeah, damn, dude, those things get moving.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not me, but there are definitely people that can crank a bike a bit faster.
Those things cook. Bicycles?
Yeah, I'm a really big fixed gear bike guy. I actually really like street riding quite a lot.
Okay.
It's like, I don't know if you've ever been on one. I don't want to mansplain this to you, but, like, generally they're, like, brakeless.
Yeah.
And so the drivetrain is just directly connected to the back wheel.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So you can eat shit pretty.
Did your shutter go off on the camera?
I don't think so. Is the red light on?
No, I just heard a click.
Yeah,
the red light is on.
Yeah, no, I think sometimes the wood in here cricks and cracks, the panels and shit. So
I used to have a camera that, like, had a recording limit, and then the shutter would click. So every time I hear that, I, like, get a little PTSD.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Well, he's the fucking camera guy. Hold on, guys. I'm gonna get up and check and make sure that it's still recording. I got a professional in here that's telling me my shit might be fucked up.
I'm wrong a lot. Yeah.
Be right back.
If it's a mirrorless camera, then it's probably fine. Oh, yeah. I just used to have a camera that, like, you ever use a 1DX before? Yeah, the Canon 1DX.
Oh no, we're good. We're good. I just had to check. Professional told me that shit might be fucked up, so I had to go check.
Yeah, but I guess I'm just paranoid.
No, I feel you. I do that. Honestly, I do that all the time. Like, press record, and I'm like, don't know if I press record or something.
Dude, story of my life, man. You were like, you know, getting the sweats before you format a card on set. You're like, I backed this up, right? Yeah. It's never happened to me where I've lost footage, but, you know.
Yeah, seriously, knock on wood. So, I kind of want to touch and ask about, what are you working on right now? Like, what are some of the things that you are doing right now that, you know, people can expect or look into? Or
Totally. Right now, I am working on what I would call my investment clients.
Investment
two close
clients.
friends that are mutuals. This guy, Brendan Bell, who produces music under the name Covex, and then a childhood friend of mine.
I was literally just at his studio 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, right on, man.
I was literally just at his studio 2 weeks ago.
I was telling you, man, you have great taste in friends. But he was very gracious, and when he signed his label deal, he approached me to be the creative director for his album.
Oh, wow.
So I'm taking on kind of like a larger overarching role.
Sweet.
And as a part of that, we're doing album artwork, single rollouts, a bunch of Spotify canvases, this like 9-minute music video that's essentially going to be like a visual album. And that's the thing with the lighting cues I was telling you about. We're renting this warehouse, and it's a team of like 10 to 12 people on set. And we're going to try and make something really, really interesting. The hard part is that I've really been working my way up to making high-quality music videos just in time for the medium to die.
Got it. In the medium to die, what do you mean? In the medium of music videos to die?
Yeah.
You think music videos are on the way out?
The hard part is that I don't think I'm necessarily the right person to ask, because I love lurking Vimeo and finding a good short film.
Yeah.
And like I will watch music videos all fucking day. But the truth of the matter is that a majority of people aren't consuming content like this. They're consuming content like this on their phone. It's a TikTok. It's whatever.
It's the swipe era right now.
Yeah, everything's like pretty bite-sized. If I hear snackable content one more time, I might punch someone.
Yeah.
But like, it's the truth. It's like where things are going.
No, I get that.
And I'm also like, a part of that. I definitely spend a lot of time scrolling the feed. But my thought is that like middle form, kind of long form content, something like a podcast or like, a visual album will never go out of style. It will only kind of like fall out of vogue. So like maybe less people will see it on release day, but I think if it's a really high quality project, the cream always rises to the top. You know? You will always go back and be like, wow, this was really cool. It'll live on YouTube. You're at a party and you're like, oh, let me throw this thing on,
Yeah.
And if you have a good long form bit, you can always cut it up and then distribute it
exactly
through all those smaller forms. It's just, taking a widescreen video and cropping it into 16 by 9 or 9 by 16.
Yeah, 9 by 16.
Fun,
yeah. So that's an interesting take, and I like that you say that because I had no idea that that's kind of a talk maybe in that side of the industry. How do you think that gets mitigated? Do you just continue to do it, or do you change the way the visuals are approached or distributed, or do you think you just run with it the same way because it's a crucial part of the overall kind of brand or aesthetic or rollout, and that's kind of you're just going to know that you're taking the hit almost of when it comes out, that the video's not going to do as well? Or do you switch gears and be like, okay, we're going to do a different same idea or same visual concept, but we're going to distribute it in a different way?
Totally. Yeah, there's kind of like two parts to the actual end product itself.
Okay.
The first part is like just make a kick-ass creative, like make the video good. But once you have this video, then the whole second half is like figuring out how to get it in front of an audience. And like right now, this like 9-minute video, like, yeah, we're going to lose a lot of people probably in the
Who's
going
to
watch
a 9-minute video?
It's going to be tough. People like me will watch it.
Yeah, of course. Video snobs and create like, yeah, totally. There will always be that niche of people who will watch long form content or will really care about, a beautiful 9-minute video.
But also, like, we're shooting it in a series of chapters, so there's like 5 distinct visual looks. And like every minute and a half to 2 minutes, we like reveal kind of like a new gag.
Yeah.
Like at one point, there's like a projector that kicks on that you didn't know was a part of the setup, and then like at one point we're gonna try and do like a little bit of pyro on like a video, and like I feel like that's like fairly unexpected in like such a small setting, and so kind of having these like treats to give people along the way also allows us to cut it up and then distribute it as like 5 separate 2-minute videos.
Yeah.
So we're looking at like, hey, like maybe the label uploads the full long form. And then on the artist channel, you do like the 2-minute sections. And then on TikTok, you're hitting 15-second clips of the really cool shit. It's tough. And like, honestly, the strategy is changing mostly because like the entire landscape is changing so much. If you know any intel, man, let me know. I'm always looking for tips.
And that's really why I'm asking, is because, I'm always trying to pick people's brains and just, consume, good information and people who are smarter than I am or have a different view of, kind of the landscape of just social and how everything's moving and, pretty much how to play the game of how to keep up.
Yeah.
Type thing. It's just
tough, man. Like, we're in the Wild West right now.
Dude,
like,
we really...
Everything is changing so fast.
We really are.
Just yesterday, I was talking to Jasper Goggins, who's like the president at Mad Decent, and he was talking to me about like, oh yeah, like maybe we could have you back for a music video or something. But even then, we both were like kind of acknowledging that the music video is dying. The tough part is that it was always kind of like a platform for people like me in my career, where we are maybe graduating out of social content or small bits, and we want to work towards something larger.
Yeah.
A music video is really well positioned because you only need to make 3 minutes of like good content, but that can be proof of concept for something like a short film, or like if you're a DP or a director and like you want to get on like a film set or like a feature length, then a music video is always a really great platform for that. And if that middle space dies, I think it'll be really hard for young creators to like get a proof of concept that will then allow them to like be on a proper film set without going to film school or something. So like I think it's a crucial part of the ecosystem of like people who stand behind a camera. I just don't know exactly what's going to like fill that void.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I'm here just
stuck in the middle of it.
I'm holding the line for music videos, just hoping they make a comeback.
Yeah. And I guess so then I would ask your opinion as a professional. You are a professional. Whether you want to think it or not, I'm calling you a professional. Is how do you think people should now say if you're an independent artist, because I've said this also before, I think the independent artist just wave and the whole nuance of being an independent artist is really coming back, and it's at a really strong point right now due to the whole TikTokification of society,
Yeah.
and just the ability, with AI and just all the free distribution, all the platforms that we have, the ability to be an independent artist and be successful is more doable than it has ever been. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's also more competitive than it's
yes,
ever been.
it's absolutely completely more oversaturated, and that's a great segue into my question is, what would be, you'd say, like maybe like a piece of advice or some insight of something of how artists or independent artists should move or distribute their content moving forward? You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think how to give this a better description for you. Say if someone has a song that's coming out, and how to maybe avoid the medium of getting lost, or just focusing on putting great content out, or just release the song first and then kill it with visuals, or do visuals first, or I feel like there's got to be a formula or some sort of maybe like a blueprint.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're getting at.
Of some sort that could be like a better direction for a lot of artists or people that are putting out music and putting out content.
Totally.
Of how to almost blend the two in a way that doesn't just get stuck in the void.
Completely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think
because that's a really crucial aspect. Because I've
Yeah.
heard a lot of different opinions. Like, I've heard people be like, release the song, don't promo the song at all before the song comes out, because no one's gonna remember that. Hey, my song comes out Friday. Like,
yeah,
just do it that way now instead of doing pre-promo. Do post-promo and then move about it this way. You know what I mean?
Completely,
That way, when someone's swiping, they hear what they like what they see, or they like what they hear in 3 seconds, and they click a link, it's out, it's done. They don't have to do any sort of more searching or digging and be like, oh shit, I gotta wait 2 weeks. I'm done.
Like,
you've already lost me.
Sometimes it can be advantageous to have a couple videos before release date, but if you have 20 videos on your TikTok talking about this one song that's coming out, at a certain point you're gonna lose people.
Yeah.
But I think, like, zooming out from this dilemma, I think the main thing is that you have to have your priorities straight. And like, I'm still sorting out my own, and I'm still like helping clients sort out their own. But I think at the end of the day, it starts with like your primary focus, and that for musicians should be the music. Like, figure out your music, make sure your music has like a great sound and it's unique, and you understand your identity and your place within the genre or the market or the audience that you're trying to reach.
Crucial.
And then find like what works for you. Like, I think that case studies are probably the best way to like find insight about what will work for you. So like, look at the people that you admire and be like, wow, I really like so-and-so, or I really like the way that they did this social campaign, or you know what, this worked for me. I actually pre-saved that song. Like, that's huge intel. For me personally, I've been talking to Brennan Covex about like demo tapes. I think that he has had an incredible year on TikTok. I don't know if you're familiar with this producer, but like, his content style is that it's kind of somewhere in between a tutorial and like kind of like a production head bit. But at the end of the day, what he's doing is content that's easy for him to make. He's like, this is what I do all day. This is where I live. And like, this is a part of my song. Or like, Pluko also does a great job with that. He'll just open up his project file and be like, check out this fucking crazy printer fax sound I made.
Yeah, this granulator fucking shit that I just made. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that like, rather than trying to chase a false idol of like, oh, what's the formula? Or how do I do this? Ask yourself, like, what do I want to see? Like, what would work on me? And like, what has worked on me in the past? Like, it's such a cop-out question to be like, no, like, find your own way. But like, that's the only way to be successful in music, I think, is like to genuinely be authentic. Yeah. Like, find your strategy, and like, if you're trying to copy someone else, it's not gonna work for you, because you're just gonna be a copy of them.
Yeah. Your audience isn't the same as their audience.
Your audience is trying to find out who you are. Be that.
Crucial point. You just hit the nail right there.
Thank you, man.
No, that was huge. Let's continue. I have to pee, so we're gonna pause real quick, and I'll be right back, guys. Dude, that was such a great point and valuable advice. Because I find myself in that same predicament per se. Is that, but also for me, at least, and I think that this is a very valuable point, and I'm sure you probably feel a similar way or could add to this, is I try and make my content in all aspects have tremendous value. And I think the value aspect is huge,
For
especially
sure. Yeah.
when you already have an existing audience, or especially when you're getting new people coming in or just checking your page, or because, that's always the thing too. You hear it all the time. People are always watching you. People are always looking at your page. They may not follow you. They may not like your post, but they're checking and seeing what you're doing. And at some point, maybe that may pay dividends to you. And I think having all your ducks in a row, per se, as far as just content, appeal, value, brand, look, vibe, just everything that you're about is crucial. And that's something that I try and really remind myself when I'm making content is how can I add value, whether that's actual advice value, or whether that's monetary value, or whether that's mindset value, or health value, or
Completely. Yeah.
sonic value. You know what I mean? And that's how I really try to look at it. And I think it's been good for me, but also to the point of that everything is just changing so fast.
Yeah, but
so
I think that there are some parallels, like maybe to what we were speaking about with like over delivering to your clients, right? Like my best advertising is the words that my clients say to other people. And I think that there's like a really similar parallel in music, and that like you should look at the people that are currently listening to your songs and go like, how can I add value for them? Yeah. How do I turn them from a fan into a super fan and turn that super fan into a lifer? Because those are the people that are like, oh, hey, check out this new Seventh Heaven track. Yeah. Like those are the people that are evangelizing on your behalf. So if you can find a way to like focus on the people that are already listening, or even the ones that are just like kind of on the periphery, that will be a much better investment to go deep with your fans rather than wide. I think that like a lot of musicians get kind of caught up in the false idols of like, oh, I need new fans. I need to reach a bigger audience. I need to do bigger numbers, right? And I'm like, dude, no, like you're
focused on the wrong thing almost.
Your page has a few thousand people. Imagine a few thousand people in a room. You have this platform. That's a fuck ton of people. Like talk to them because they actually want to hear, rather than trying to like catch someone as they're scrolling through the feed.
Because I feel like if you do that, you actually maybe like in reverse do a better job at attracting new people.
Completely, yeah. And like you also don't get like fair weather fans, which I think can sometimes be like the kiss of death for a lot of musicians. Is that like, it's kind of like the new one-hit
like the trend
wonder.
fan type things?
Yeah, you have like a really trendy song, or like, you're doing like some sort of gimmick on TikTok and like more people flood to your page. And then when you stop doing the gimmick, you're known as the gimmick guy. And like you can't not do that anymore.
Yeah.
I think it becomes really tough to like deviate from that brand or like do what you actually want. Like sometimes it's a huge asset to have a small platform because it allows you to find yourself and like to do what is sustainable and like what is interesting and like what is truly unique to you. And then the audience will build itself. As long as you're like adding value and you're like, hey, how do I make this a good experience for them, which you want for all your fans?
Totally.
Then they're gonna like
it's like customer service almost. Like, you know what I mean? A business has to have great customer service or a great, relationship or that human element in it to make you want to go buy again. And I think that's kind of like a similar aspect or kind of like way of thinking that you could bring into your maybe creative business or the way that you're producing content in that aspect of what you're saying. And I think that's super, super, super crucial.
It's hard.
I think a lot of people miss that.
Yeah, it's hard in the internet landscape because you have all these metrics for things. But like at the end of the day, I really think that you should consistently, like you as in like the wide you, for everyone, but like one should consistently invest in like quality rather than quantity. So it's not about the amount of videos you put out. It's about like how good is this to my current ability. And like how can I make the best music? Like always invest in doing something right because that will find its audience eventually. It may not happen today or tomorrow or this year or next year, but like good quality content will always find its way to like the person that is searching for it.
Damn. That's some fucking knowledge right there. That's some wisdom for all y'all right there.
Yeah, maybe I'm a little bit partial because I'm like, I've made some good projects that haven't gotten views, but like, no, but I definitely think that like as long as you just like keep making good shit, man, people will find it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, and I think it's just like not to be too hard on yourself. You know what I mean? If you're doing what you're doing and you really are doing everything that you can at the best of the ability that you can do it, to take pride in that and just continue to kill that and grow that. You know what I mean? Not trying to get too caught up in, I want to do this and I think I should do this, when actually you may not be in the position to do that, but you can do what you can do right now really well.
Yeah.
And to focus on that. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah.
And that can be a tough mindset.
And like everyone's journey is different.
Totally.
And like it's not always linear.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, hell, dude, look at Diplo, dude. Like he didn't even really like reach the peak of his success until like he was well into his 30s.
Yeah.
You know? And I think it's like really important to be like, hey, like, you know, he was passionate about like world import music.
Yep.
And was like, hey, I really like these like strange sounds and like trying to find a way to like make it palatable for a Western audience, like the holotronics dance shit. Like I think that it's, yeah, just like figure out your own lane.
Totally.
And, like, do that, man.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna be the best you. No one else you can compare to.
Facts. Absolutely. I gotta ask you a question, because I saw it on Tyler Bard's story. How was that being at SoFi? At Travis's Utopia show at SoFi and seeing the visuals that you worked on fucking on the screen, dude. I've been waiting to ask this question because that's got to be almost like the biggest holy shit moment. One of the biggest artists in the world. It is tour at SoFi, and the stuff that you worked on is right there in front of you. But nobody knows. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
What was that like for you, dude? That
I mean,
just has to be an incredible moment.
It was really cool. It's a funny story though. Like honestly, the entire thing felt a little bit like a fever dream. Mostly because we added a lot of new production right before the SoFi show. So there was additional screens added and stuff. I'm not exactly sure how much of this I can talk about. But,
No, obviously.
The day of, they had me come in the morning so that way I could like finish formatting and like editing additional video content for all of these like new screens and stuff. And so I thought they would rent like a portable off-site at SoFi, right? And I'd be there like on a folding table with my computer editing. But like they didn't have any space because of all the production. So like we're literally in like the cheerleaders' dressing room. And there were no cheerleaders there, but like rather than being like in a portable or something, like I'm like at the vanity with all the fucking light bulbs and shit. And I'm like sweating, editing, like trying to get everything done in time. And like it was such a tight deadline. Like honestly, we were sending off stuff like 2 hours before doors opened.
Wow.
Like it was crazy. So when I heard that like a bunch of my friends were coming through and they're going to be up in the nosebleeds, I'm like, dude, I don't want to be down on the floor. Like my job luckily is done once I send off the assets. Like I don't actually run the show files. I just design them.
Yes.
And so then I was like, I'm going to go up to the nosebleeds with you guys because there's like a non-zero chance like everything's fucked. And I'm just going to leave. No, but the show went off great. And I think that like the entire team was really happy with it. And like, I'm extremely thankful to have been a part of that project.
Yeah. What an amazing project to be a part of. And what an amazing piece to add to your resume.
I might be biased, man, but he knows how to give one hell of a show.
Yeah. I mean, arguably definitely one of the best live performers of our time, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, I just had to ask because, you know, as an artist or as a creative, like that's always the dream in some sort is all that time and the work and the energy that you put in for years and years and all the struggle and all the shit that you go through to have something and to work on it that is yours, that you put hands on, that's always been what you wanted to do, to see it in live, in the flesh, in an aspect where you're like, wow, you know, you get to look at it in a state of admiration, you know, you get to kind of step away from the artist part of it, just be like, holy shit.
I was like, wow, this shit looks way better than my laptop screen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, man, what an incredible moment for you. But I want to ask also kind of a question as maybe a piece of advice for people that are fans of you, look at your work, doing similar things. I kind of call it the 7-on-7's one life advice question, you know what I mean? Like, what would be something that you would tell someone if someone just walked up to you and was like a fan or wanted to do it and be like, Carter, give me something. I'm struggling right now. I'm stuck. What would you tell them?
Yeah, I don't want to say
it's a hard question,
but like I definitely think the undersell, over deliver thing.
Okay.
At least for me.
Yeah.
That has been a huge component of my success. And then besides that, it's like, you know, work hard, be nice.
Yeah. Work hard, be nice, be
that's
human.
Really all you got. Yeah.
For sure. And how do you what do you say on I say customer acquisition per se, or client acquisition?
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about that?
It's tricky because I am still pretty green in running my business. You know, I've only been like full-time freelance for a little over 2 years now. But I do pride myself in that, like, I don't do any client outreach. Like, I don't send any cold emails.
Okay. No cold calls?
No cold, not yet, man. I might have to hop on that that call farm. But right now, man, yeah, I've never done any like client solicitation. And I think like the biggest thing is just like, if you have a good relationship with your existing clients, like they will find you new ones. You know, like the reason why I'm on this podcast right now is because I did a project with a friend that knew you. And I think that like rising tides lift all boats. You know, like if you can help out a friend and you guys can make something great together, that's going to help out their career and they're going to help you as well.
Absolutely. We grow together.
Completely.
Grow together. Absolutely.
I mean, it's a little like We Are the World, Kumbaya, but like I totally agree. You know, like I might be like jaded and fucked up, but I also really, really believe that like if you do right by people, like they'll do right by you.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. Good intentions. Gotta have good intentions to do things the right way.
Completely.
Absolutely. Well, dude, we're almost already at an hour. Believe it or not, shit goes by super
incredible. Comes around like a bullet.
Dude, I know it comes by so fast. So we're gonna kind of finish and wrap up. But I have kind of like an ending question for you. Just because also I'm curious and I want you to share with people is what's next for you. You know, we were kind of briefly talking outside about something that you wanted to do or that you had coming up, some new ventures or something. You know, as much as you can say about what is next for you, but what is that? What can people expect from you?
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you for like the Sean Evans question. I really appreciate that. Yeah. What's next for me is that like, I think that I've had the opportunity to work with some really big artists.
Yeah.
And, like that's been fantastic. But like, you know that like Wes or fucking Travis Scott, they're not gonna like be like, hey Carter, what are you doing on a Wednesday? They're not trying to hang out with me casually. And like, I think that I see some of my smaller clients as like huge investments to like grow alongside them. I think like a relationship that I really admire is like Arl Grime and Andrew Kaiser, like his creative director. I think that they have like a really, really great relationship there, and they've been able to grow together and to make like some of the best art in the industry. And with that being said, like I'm trying to grow a brand around like some of the smaller artists that I'm working with, and like trying to, you know, like rise those tides all together. And I have kind of like a working title thing called Wisdom Research. So if you guys see Wisdom Research out and around,
you know what it is.
You know who's guilty.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, so kind of like a creative house, creative agency, oversee, kind of directive.
I think that like labels are in a weird spot right now because of digital streaming, right? Like really the gatekeepers of the industry are like the digital streaming platforms like Spotify or Apple Music. And where labels used to be like the ones that like fund creative projects, that's like not necessarily the case. So there needs to be this solution for artists to be like, hey, I need to pull off a music video, or like I really want like a set of tour assets, and like hopefully then they can come to Wisdom Research and be like, let's make something cool, and then I can like source the team or do it myself and like make something cool for them.
Dude, hell yeah. I love that, man. That's exciting.
Fingers crossed that it goes well, but so far I'm cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic. I like that. Dude, I'm absolutely wishing nothing but the best for you and absolute immense continuous success for you in your ventures currently and the new ventures that you're going into, man. Seriously. But, dude, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on the episode today.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Dude, I appreciate you so much driving out and just being real and opening up and talking, and hopefully you guys watching and listening got a lot of value. This man has done incredible things. He's not talking out of his ass. And there's a lot of stuff that people can learn from you, you know, which I thank you for. You know what I mean?
Of course, man.
Able to come on the show and really just be real and give people a lot of advice, a lot of helpful stuff about how this shit really works.
Thank you so much for the platform.
Dude.
Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys, for listening.
Guys, I love you so much. We probably will be back next week for a final episode before the end of the year. I'm going to take some time off the end of the year, hang out with some family. But in the meantime, that is going to do it, guys. Episode number 27 with my boy Carter over here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening and watching as always. I love you, and we will see you guys soon.